And a good evening, everyone. This is Big John and your other host, Kinsley Keys, live from Collinsville, Mississippi, tonight as the Tigers take on the Knights of West Lauderdale. Kinsley, you can never tell where we're going to show up. Last night, Biloxi for a bachelor party. Tonight, a little Northeast Jones football versus the Knights in Collinsville, which is outside of Meridian, I'd say about 20 minutes. So it's like going from Ellisville to Laurel, Laurel to Ellisville, Laurel to Sandersville, Sandersville to Laurel.
Oh, yeah. That's probably about this. It's described as a distance.
So, Kinsley, last week the Tigers fell to Northeast Lauderdale 27-7. Tonight the Tigers are going up against a West Lauderdale team that is 6-1. They played Neshoba Central, which has been their only loss, where they lost in overtime 16-14. So what do you take from that so far, and what's your thoughts on the West Lauderdale Knights?
From looking over their record this year, and also as far as they're coming from a statistical standpoint, they look like they've been stacking up pretty well. I mean, you look at, they've got a quarterback who's actually putting out some really good numbers this year. Austin Davidson. Wow, the kid has thrown for quite a few yards so far this season. Almost at 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns and 3 interceptions so far. And then the rushing game, they have a leader in Taylor Turnage. He's turned in 532 rushing yards along with 5 touchdowns to go along with it. Along with a very stout receiving game led by Jason McKinney, who has 29 receptions for 564 yards. 5 touchdowns to go along with that. And also on defense, they're pretty stout as well. Got quite a few playmakers, so they've been actually doing pretty well. They pretty good schedule this year, so definitely don't want to take anything away from this team. So the Tigers again, this division play tonight, so they have a tough task ahead of them. They really do.
Yeah, the Tigers fell last week in the division opener against Northeast Lauderdale, so this is the second matchup in division play, and so this is a game the Tigers need to win. It's about going to the playoffs now, not really the record that matters, but it's about the playoff, seeding.
Right, and as Coach Braddock was saying last week, at the start of division play, right now you might as well say that we're undefeated. So basically, they have been undefeated. So basically, going into the division race, but now this is the point of the season where it really matters. And kind of started off the season on a bad note, but it's still early in the second part of the season where it really matters. So the Tigers still have time to make a difference. A lot of things could happen between now and the end of the season when it comes to a lot of other teams. So we'll still have time to see how things shake along. But right now, the Tigers can only worry about the things they can control, which is getting a W. They need to get in the W column starting tonight.
You're exactly right. This is the 11th meeting overall between the Tigers and Knights. It started back in the 90s, or maybe even before that. I don't have the stats before me. But this is the 11th meeting overall. The Knights have won the last 2 meetings, so it's been a while since the Tigers have beaten West Lauderdale. So that needs to change tonight. And who is the starting offense and defense for our Tigers?
Okay. So for the starting lineup for the Tigers, at quarterback, they're going to return Fafa McGee, who's kind of been injured a few games past, but it looks like, he hadn't lost a step tonight, so he'll be back at his natural position. And then for the running game, Jalen Morris will be starting at running back. Holding down the wide receiver position will be Mason Smith, Jalen Hudson, Jay Jones, and also Jamarcus Sampson. Along the offensive line, we have junior Ethan Moss, also junior Zach Rogers, who was our player of the week last week, and also sophomore Sam White, junior Jackson Flint, and also Corvion Harrison. So that's the offensive lineup for the Tigers. Starting on the defensive, along the defensive line, we're going to have Zach Rogers, who's playing both ways. He's actually, speaking of Zach Rogers, he's also switched his jersey number from 28 to 57. Since Coach Braddock decided that he's going to be playing on both sides of the line, considering that he has a great talent level, he wanted to change that number to more so reflect that move to the offensive line. And also along the defensive line, it's going to be Antonio Haynes, Alan McCree. And also starting at linebacker will be Ethan Moss, Carson Broadway, Colton Edmonds, and also Michael Waite. And also starting in the secondary is going to be Ben Knight, Tyquan Jasper, Mason Smith, and Cody Hyatt. So just to review, in weeks past, the Tigers have shown to actually have a lot of potential on offense. I'm not sure really what happens really as far as the game goes along. They show that they do have the talent. They just I believe it's more of a schematic thing that they're probably struggling with to try to get the right plays in or just the right personnel on the field. But they do have a lot of offensive talent, and also on the defense as well. They have a lot of talent. They have shown the ability to create a lot of turnovers. There's a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball who've actually done a great job of creating turnovers. Now, I mean, when you think about it, as far as the stat leaders for the NEJ Tigers, so far this season, 5'5" McGee, who's thrown for 409 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And also, if Mason Smith has to come in the game thus far this season, he's thrown for 83 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. And also this season, when it comes to the rushing game, Tony Barnes actually leads the running backs with 212 yards and 1 touchdown. And behind him is Dezayla Morris, who's ran the ball 30 times, kind of came in a few games later in the season due to an injury that he sustained last year against the Taylorsville Tartars. But he's turned in 111 rushing yards this season. And also Antonio Haynes, who's rushed the ball 36 times this season for 139 yards. And also in the receiving game, Jay Jones, who's the leading receiver for the Tigers, has 12 receptions for 197 yards, along with 2 touchdowns. And behind him is the talented Jalen Hudson, who has 2 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. And also Mason Smith, who when he's not on the field as a quarterback or a defensive back, he's also in as a receiver. And he has 5 receptions for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. And also on the defensive side of the ball, Ben Knight leads the linebackers with 35 tackles. Cody Hyatt, who leads the secondary with 33 tackles. And Carson Broadway is behind Ben Knight with 25 tackles. And also along the defensive line, we're turning in the most sacks is Zach Rogers, who has 2 sacks on the season. And also when it comes to creating turnovers, Mason Smith leads the defense with 3 interceptions. Also Tyquan Jasper, Jay Jones, Cody Hyatt, and Jalen Hudson all tie at 1. As for the West Lauderdale stat leaders, as I mentioned earlier, Austin Davidson, who has 937 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on the year. Their leading rusher, Taylor Turnage, has turned in 532 yards with 5 touchdowns. As far as receivers, Jason McKinney, who's grabbed 29 receptions, 564 yards for 5 touchdowns. When it comes to tackles on defense, Thomas Webster leads the pack with 29 tackles. Jacob Feist has 4 sacks, and Deontay Bolton has turned in 4 interceptions. So it's going to be, I actually kind of think this could kind of be a game of turnovers. So it could come down to a defensive type of game. Talent on both sides of the ball for the West Lauderdale and also for the Tigers. I mean, you have talent on both sides of the ball. So this could really be a close game if each team will play to their potential and just really play football. I mean, this could really be a close game. It could really be probably the most intense matchup for the Tigers all season.
Yeah, you're right, Kinsley. This is a game in which, you don't really know a lot about West Lauderdale. They played some good teams, but really they haven't really played a whole lot of talented teams besides Neshoba Central, and I don't think Neshoba Central is really that good. The Tigers, they have nothing to lose here and everything to gain. Now, I'm going to give you my key stats of the game. Now, if you look at the Tigers, when they are not fumbling the football, they are doing a good job.
They are.
Okay, so the 2 keys for the games for the Tigers, in my point of view, would be no fumbles. You can't turn it over.
Do not turn the ball over.
And when you get inside the red zone, you got to score.
You have to. That's the pivotal time to put points on the board. If you make it that far, you have to capitalize and get the ball in the end zone. That's just.
I mean, that's key. I mean, that's key to any ball game. You can't shoot yourself in the foot. You can't have senseless penalties, and you got to score when you get those opportunities. And the other thing would be, blocking up front. We got to have some penetration up front. We got to have good blocking for our backs to get through the holes and our quarterback to have time to get the reads.
Right, and you're exactly right. You're speaking of games during the previous season. I'm going to take a moment for the saying of the prayer in the national and the pledge.
After the prayer, if you will, remain standing for the national anthem presented by the West Lauderdale Mighty Night Marching Band.
God, thank you so much for this day and for your love and grace that you give us every day. God, right now we ask you your blessing upon each of these teams and their players, God. Let everything that they say and do bring honor and glory to your name, and keep us all safe as we travel home. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
All right, and thank you so much for your patience in that process.
All right. Now, Kinsley, what was unique about that national anthem, during the Star Spangled Banner? Did you see the horse running around the field?
I did. That was very unique. That's something
it's
something you really don't see at every
It's kind of like
game.
you're at a Southern California Trojan game,
Yeah, I like they got
that was pretty cool.
They have the horse running around and all the shiny little weird robe over him. Yeah, it's pretty nice. And even have the little knight in shining armor there. It's pretty.
It was. I saw Coach Braddock in Walmart today. I said, "Coach, you ready?" He said, "We ready." He said, "We're going to Agape Church in downtown Laurel to get some grub, and we're going to be wearing the all-white uniforms tonight. So it's going to be the White Tiger out here tonight."
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you say you talk to Coach Braddock, that's exactly what he was saying. I mean, as he told us during on Tuesday during kicking it with the coach, despite their record, despite how their season is going, the Tigers are not afraid of any team or any opponent, and they're definitely not going to back down from a challenge. So you have to respect the coach who has that mindset and confidence in his team. And you have to be that way despite how your season's going. You have to keep playing. You play 4 quarters the best of your ability, and whatever happens, happens.
You're listening to the Stacy Sims Barber pregame show, and we appreciate you all. I'm good. Thank you for being here. And so we're talking a little Tiger football before the kickoff. Perfect football weather. The sun's finally going down here at Knight Stadium. And Kinsley, what's some great pregame food we had before the game?
Oh, man, we had some great food. We ate at the good old restaurant. And
Octibie Fish Camp down the way from here.
Hey, you know what? It worked out perfectly. I mean, we went there. We had some great food.
You got the seafood platter.
Yeah, I had the seafood platter, and you had a
steak,
juicy,
a 12-ounce ribeye.
Oh,
that
man.
was so good, so good.
It was nice. So,
with fries and the Texas toast and a Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah. So guys, if you're ever in Meridian, stop by Okatibie Creek Fish Camp.
Yeah.
You will not regret it.
Jesse and his staff
are amazing.
They were picking on us, from being from Northeast Jones, but hey, we're Tigers. We'll eat anywhere where there's some good cooking. That's all about a road trip is to find out somewhere good.
Yeah.
So we missed Raising Cane's tonight, but this is a good substitute.
Oh yeah, it's a great substitute. I mean, we drove quite a way, but you know what? That made it all work.